Hey, how's it going, PNW fans? Thanks for joining us here in the PNW headquarters here for another review. You know, it's Croptober here, so what better to do a review of than some curing jars, right? So, if you've read some of our other reviews, if you followed us for a long time, then you know we did a review of these guys a while ago. And I am not talking about them today, so I'm not even going to say who they are. If you've been a fan, you know who they are. We are big fans of these guys, and to put these guys to the test, myPharmJar asked us to test and review their jar. So, side by side, you can see first off when we got started that they are damn near identical. The design of the jars are the same. These guys have several designs of jars, and this is their line of darker jars. These are called, I believe it's miron glass. They're heavy UV resistant. I don't know all the science behind it. I'll admit I haven't looked up the science behind the whole thing. I just know that these are supposed to help you cure your weed better, or cure whatever. If you're growing herbs, you can throw them in there. I used them to cure cannabis, and I wanted to test them out. So, so you can see there's a difference in size here. Now, these guys have a whole lot of different sizes, all the way down to this little itty-bitty tiny one that I saw that might hold just a couple of grams, all the way up to what I've heard they call an elbow. Old school people will know the terminology. An elbow holds about a pound worth of flower. So if you grew your weed this year, if you're in a rec state and you grew some weed and you need a place to cure it, a pound-sized myPharmJar could be the way to go. Let's see if it is. So now that you've seen the comparison, I'm going to move these guys out of the way. Let me get them over here off camera. Like I said, we're not talking about them today. myPharmJar. Couple of things that I noticed right off the way after I started using them. First and foremost, here, let me show you this. They have a humidor lid. You can see there, it gives you your humidity and your temperature inside the glass. It also, as you can see, labeled right now, I'm currently curing some fuel can in there from Hell's Canyon Genetics. It's an amazing fire, and we are testing a cure over 60 days in this one and in that one comparatively, and then we'll release a follow-up to this. But because it's harvest time, we wanted to get this review out so you guys can know everything about myPharmJar. This jar has been a lifesaver, or I should say the lid has been a lifesaver. The first time we tested it, we had a strain that was extremely dry, and we didn't know it. It had a flexibility that surprised me once I realized how dry it was. I threw it inside here, and it immediately only registered at 45% humidity, and I was like, holy shit, how's it not starting to fall apart on me? So I threw a boveda pack in there, and lo and behold, within about 3 days, I was up to 55%, and about 3 days later, I was up to, I think I capped out at about 58% humidity there. Not quite the 62% that a boveda pack will take you to, but anywhere between 52 and 62, and you're usually doing pretty good. I immediately noticed that as soon as I threw a humidity pack in here, the jar did very well at helping to rehydrate the weed that was in the jar. So that was the first test, and it passed with flying colors. The next test was to see how long it would last in this jar compared to another one. So what we did is we took the same strain that was in there, we took it out and we put it into another jar that was a little bit smaller. So there was a size difference, so it wasn't quite apples to apples testing, but the flour that was in the smaller jar dried out really quickly. It became brittle and actually changed color and darkened, and I wasn't really happy with the strain to begin with. However, when I pulled it out of the myPharmJar, it actually still looked exactly like it when I put it in there. It had the same deep, vibrant green color, not this dark green that it turned to in the other jar. It had all of the what little crystals there were from the trichomes stayed on the ones in the myPharmJar. They did not stay on the ones that were in the other jar. And as a matter of fact, we had some keef at the bottom that we didn't have in the myPharmJar. I'm shaking this around right now because my hope is that I get a bunch of keef from what's in here. This shit's pretty fire, and I want some keef in the bottom of this jar, and it won't degrade and make it on its own, so I usually give it a little bit of shake. Now, let me show you what's in here. Let's get a nice little nug out of here. All right, here we go. So this is what we grew. It is outdoor sun grown, but that is the flower that is currently in this jar, and like I said, it is in both jars, and we will return to see which one has the better cure. After about 60 days worth of cure testing. But that, like I said, would be after harvest. So we wanted to get this review out. Unique thing about this, now we didn't actually test that, but recently we had an eclipse. We're here in Oregon. We're some of the first people to be able to see the eclipse in its whole totality. And myPharmJar claims that because of the miron glass, you could use this to be able to look through the glass at an eclipse and not damage your retinas. That's how UV resistant this glass is. I can say that it is awfully dark, and when you do try to look at it, if you are in a dampened room at all, you can't see shit. So you know that, you know, your curing is supposed to be in cool, dry darkness. So you pack it in your jar, you put it up in the top of your closet, and let your weed sit for 30 to 60 days, making sure to burp it every other day or so, and you have a great cure. So in terms of testing, I think that the myPharmJar passed all of our tests. The seal on the lid is nice. There's no smell. You can't smell anything, and this is some smelly weed, guys. I tell you what, right now, it is very, 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 very fragrant, and once you put it inside the jar, you can't smell anything. We have had other jars that we currently store our weed in. When we put this in there, it is not as smell resistant, and when you pick up that jar, you can actually smell the fuel can in there. You can't smell anything as it comes out of here. So when it comes in terms of storage, it gets an A+. In terms of scent resistant, it obviously gets an A+. We'll let you know what it gets in terms of long-term storage. But like I said, we took an ounce, which is this size jar here. This is about the ounce size. We took an ounce of a strain that was super, super dry, added a boba to pack, let it sit for over 45 days, and the weed did rehydrate. It did have a little bit of a stoniness. The weed did start to get a little bit more of a stickiness, and it did cure a little further than what it was into something that was much more smokable than what was in our little tester that wasn't this type of glass and didn't have this type of seal, and it didn't have a boba to pack. So, you know, side-by-side comparisons to a couple other jars, and this is really an A+. I don't have a pound jar, so I won't be able to test a pound jar this year in our harvest. We finally pulled down our last plant, and I totally could throw a pound in there. Kind of. Not quite. I guess half-pound jar. I'd love a half-pound. But either way, I could put in... I could use a bigger one to test, but I don't have one. However, this one passed the test with flying colors, and I imagine their elbow and their smaller jars as well would all pass with flying colors as well. In terms of the humidor lid, the thermometer is crazy cakes. It works really, really well, and I'm actually surprised I didn't melt it. I was at a festival. Sorry, I had to get a real quick smell out of that. I was at a festival this summer, and it was hot as balls, and it broke like 110 degrees, just ambient temperature, and I had the lid to this not on the jar, sitting in the sun, and it capped out at 128 degrees, and in direct sun, 128 degrees. We thought we were all dying. When I pulled it back in the shade, I thought maybe I broke this, and it totally still works just fine. As a matter of fact, it's about 74 degrees inside the jar because I've been holding it. I actually have watched this increase from about 68 degrees when I started. So that's how I know that it works still. So quality materials, quality glass, quality jar, and it does a great cure job from what I can tell. So again, myPharmJar definitely will earn the PNW Badge of Approval. You know, jar for jar, I think this might be my new favorite jar. So I know I've rambled a little bit, but I kind of fanboy over these guys a little bit nowadays. So thanks for joining us. Head right here and you can actually see, you can check out their website and order a myPharmJar for yourself. Tell them John from PNW Canada Reviews said hello, and that maybe he'll hook you up. Maybe not. I don't know. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to hit the red button right here. That's the subscribe button. Don't forget to go to PNWCR.com. That's the website, so you can see more reviews from us and from other people that we stream in. The new digs, A Stoner in PN Wonderland. This is the logo right there. That's the website. Head to stonerpnwonderland.com and check out the new magazine. Our next issue is coming out early next year, so you know, take a look at it and see what's there, and tell us what you think. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you want to see for next issue. Thanks for joining us, and we will catch you next time, PNW fans.